Hi, my name is Rakea and I'm a blind artist. I don't know what I look like and I painted a self-portrait. Are you wondering how? So you're probably wondering how a blind artist who doesn't know what she looks like and let alone doesn't know what other people look like painted a self-portrait. Well, let me explain. So let's start from the beginning. I was doing my BTEC level 3 extended diploma and the brief for the project was identity. So I was starting off by exploring the brief and exploring who I am, and then I was answering some prompts. And one of the prompts that I answered for my research and to gain inspiration was something I wish I could hide. And what I did was I did a rough outline sketch of an eye and then I covered it with blue latex. And the reason why I chose blue latex is because it's somewhat transparent but also opaque at the same time, and I wanted the eye to show but also to kind of be a little bit hidden, and this was to represent how my visual impairment is something I wish I could hide for the longest time. So in this project I really wanted to embrace my visual impairment, and so talking about descriptions and describing people, so I don't know what people really look like. I know that I've got a brief description of myself. I know I've got black hair, I know it's long and straight, I know I've got brown skin, I've got brown eyes, but that's a very generic description that could fit hundreds and thousands of people. But continuing on with my project, so I got two of my tutors. They gave a brief description of themselves and I drew them according to that description. It wasn't very accurate, unfortunately, but it was very interesting. I learned that there were a few more pieces of information I could have used, like skin tone or face shape, which I didn't get in the generic description they gave me. So I started researching into police sketch artists and how they have a series of questions that they ask eyewitnesses, like face shape, nose shape, skin tone, which I found really fascinating because I've never been able to see people before, and learning that people had so much depth to their faces was fascinating. So to expand on my experimentation, I wrote out a questionnaire with more of these questions to do with face shape and eye colour and skin tone, and I gave it out to a few of my classmates to fill out, and I think from there I had a more accurate drawing of them. But something else interesting that I wanted to point out is one of my classmates put that they had olive skin tone, and I didn't know what olive skin tone meant, which was really confusing to me because I know olives as green or black. So I didn't know if she had darker skin tone or whether you mean like green undertones. It was really confusing. I did eventually learn that it just means lighter brown, but very confusing for a blind person. So going forward from that experiment, I took the same questions and applied it to myself. However, I can't see myself in a mirror. I don't know what I look like. I couldn't answer these questions. And so I had to ask people around me to answer these questions for me and collect the answers. I realised I really do have to use the rest of the world as my mirror because I can't see what I look like. I also wanted to make my self-portrait accessible, and I researched into an artist called Andrew Myers. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's an able-bodied sighted artist who creates artwork that's accessible for visually impaired and blind people. He was at an art fair one day where a blind person wasn't allowed to touch the artwork and he thought it was so unfair. So ever since then he's created these tactile screw portraits where a visually impaired person can identify the facial features through the different levels in height with the screws, which I really wanted to replicate for my own artwork to make it accessible for my community. For my self-portrait, I used different paint mediums and different textures, so each facial feature had a distinguishable texture. So even if you're visually impaired and it doesn't matter how much vision you have, you can still identify the self-portrait through touch. I was also looking at symbols in identity, and for my symbol I used a mirror, and this is basically to represent that I can't see myself in a mirror like everyone else can. I need the world to be my mirror. Also, this is a very brief overview of my sketchbook and all the research I did. So if you'd like to see my entire sketchbook, my research and experimentation, how I got from A to B, please do let me know. I can make a more in-depth video on it. So the long-awaited moment. Here it is. Here is my self-portrait. How accurate do you think we look? So I'll quickly go through and audio describe a little bit more of my self-portrait and the different textures that I used. So to make my artwork accessible, I started with the nose using a very gritty paint medium to stand out in the centre of the portrait. So when you're visually impaired, once you've found the nose, you can identify the other facial features around it. Then for the eyes, I used a really puffy paint to make them stand out. For the eyebrows, a glossy paint medium, which I also used for the hair to match. For the lips, a semi-gloss. This portrait is made out of very thick, bold black lines outlining each facial feature. And the hair starts off black and then goes down to blue near the bottom. As a symbol for my identity piece, I used a mirror. Over here, the mirror is made out of crumpled up foil to symbolise that I can't see myself in a mirror like everyone else can. Please let me know what you think of my identity project. Is my self-portrait any bit accurate? Would you like to see any more of my sketchbook? And if you have any other thoughts, please leave them in the comments. Would love to hear them. And please like, share and subscribe to my channel for more. Alright then, bye!